Looks like I am live here on LinkedIn and Facebook and YouTube as well. Hello, everyone. This is Sarah Mueller here, and we are going to talk about parenting today, about why one of your children is more triggering than the others. And even if you only have one child, you'll be able to understand more of why your one child triggers you. So this teaching that I'm going to do now, this about 10-minute teaching, is part of the pep rally for my Radiant Greatness membership that is open and for sale right now. I am going to be doing these trainings over this last week and this coming week and talking about the different areas that are my expertise. So let's jump right into the topic for today. So if you have children, you obviously know that they can be triggering for us at some points, and that really our children are our greatest teachers. What I believe and have learned to understand is that if we have gotten to our adulthood and we haven't healed any childhood experiences, if we haven't stepped into our authentic self and told our false selves to take a step back, that when we finally have children, they are that next push, that next growth opportunity to help us to learn and to evolve and to come into our greatest power and our greatest strength. And so, if you're really honest with yourself, I'm sure that you will agree that there is one of your children that is more triggering than the others. And so this can change from time to time. This can change from year to year or from phase to phase. But generally, we have one child that is more challenging for us. And so I'm going to talk with you about four specific reasons as to why that is right now. So the first reason that one of our children is more triggering to us is that we see the unexpressed parts of our authentic self in that child. So let me say that again. We see the unexpressed parts of our authentic self in our child. And so what does that mean? Let me share an example of one of my past clients with you. She grew up in a culture and a country that very much women were supposed to be just seen and not heard. They were supposed to conform and follow the directions and, like I said, be seen and not be heard. And so one of her daughters ended up being very loud and very emotional and lots of energy and all over the place. And so when my client was struggling with that through the conscious parenting work that I do, we came to see that her daughter was reminding her of her unexpressed parts of her authentic self. So because she was never able to be in full expression, to be emotional, to be loud, to be all over the place in her full authentic self, it was hard. It was like her child self was feeling pain as to not having had the opportunity to express that. And so, these are tools, any triggers of our children are tools for us to understand what areas of ourself we need to still do some work on. Okay, so I'll move into number 2 here. The second reason that one of our children could be more triggering than our others is that they bring up unhealed parts of our relationship with their parent. So either your spouse, or if you're no longer together, the other parent of your child. So what often happens is that one of our children reminds us of their parent, and we either have unfulfilled healings or unfulfilled work or business to do with that partner. And so this is what I experienced with my oldest son. So my oldest son, Maverick, is a spitting image of my husband. In so many ways, he acts very much like him, and he also is his own self, of course, but he just physically looks like and has a lot of mannerisms of my husband. And, it was the relationship between me and my husband that really catapulted all of the work that I've done personally to heal and to stand in my own power, and that I bring out into the world and that I work with my clients. So I've done a lot of work around our relationship problems and end that space and learning to heal and forgive myself and him. However, when I was doing my conscious parenting work and I noticed that I kept being triggered by my oldest son and that I was having the deepest struggle with him, it helped me to see that there were actually parts of my relationship with my husband that were still unfinished, unhealed, parts that I had to forgive even deeper within himself and within myself. So it was that opportunity to turn the light back on myself and do the work that I needed to do so that I could show up and fully love my oldest son, who was amazing, with the love that he deserves from me. Okay, number 3, reason that one of our children is often more triggering than the others is that they bring up unhealed parts of our childhood. So I had a client who was sexually abused as a child, and parts of that she hadn't dealt with and were not healed. And so when she had children and one of her girls was very outgoing and bright and lovable and approachable, that brought up a lot of tension in her because it threatened her. It brought her back to the places of her own childhood where she did not feel safe and secure. It was like her daughter was bringing unwanted attention to herself. And so this was an indicator for us to see that there were parts of her life, parts of that sexual trauma that needed to be healed in order for her to obviously feel good as an adult, but also stand as a firm, conscious, loving parent for her daughter as well. Okay, number 4, the last reason that I'm going to share with you today as to why one of our children might be more triggering than the others is that the children that we're having the conflict with is often not meeting the conditions or the expectations that we put on them in order to love them. And so a lot of us will say, oh, I love my children unconditionally. But the truth is that we really do put conditions on our children, right? Like, we expect them to be good. We expect them to get good grades. We expect them to be in sports. We expect them to do as they're told. We expect them to listen to us and get along with us. And when our children do the opposite of that, when they are throwing food, when they're having tantrums at the soccer practice in front of all of the other parents, when they're getting bad grades or sassing back to us or making a mess or not doing as we've asked them, we struggle with that because they aren't meeting those expectations. They aren't meeting those conditions that we are putting in place for them, for us to love them. And so, all of these 4 reasons are really important for us to notice and for us to shine the light back on ourselves and do our own work, because what tends to happen in family systems is that when one of the children is experiencing more trouble with the parents, there's more conflict, whether it's because that child has a mental illness or because of the reasons that I've expressed here, or because that child is different in some way. What often happens when there's that extra struggle with the one child that's triggering is that the other child or children tend to become the perfect child or the good one. We might even give those labels to the other children. And really what that child sees is they see the parents' attention going into the other child, and they know that their parents are their path to safety, security, food, water, shelter, all those things. And so that child conforms and does all the right things to maintain their parents' love. And so while this might seem good as a parent, when you've got a child that's the good one, like that feels great as a kid, but often it's those good kids, the perfect ones, that end up growing up into adults to be the people pleasers or the pushovers or the ones that don't know what they truly want for their life because they've been so consumed with satisfying other people versus listening to their own authentic desires. So I have thrown a lot of quite heavy parenting topics out at you just to kind of scratch the surface. But in my Radiant Greatness membership, and of course, very deeply in my coaching programs, we focus on conscious parenting. So I encourage you to join our membership to start to get a taste as to some more of this and how you can really show up and be a conscious parent for your children by doing the work on yourself. And I also just want to kind of tell you a little bit about the Radiant Greatness membership. If you haven't seen any information on it, it is really meant to make your personal and your professional development simple. One spot, one place to go to, one time a month from me, expert training, group coaching so that you can ask the questions that you need. And by the way, if you have any questions or comments on the information that I shared on the parenting today, please drop them below. I will be responding to them right now or in real later. So please drop any questions that you might have. But back to the Radiant Greatness membership. Founding members right now, it's only $19 a month to join or $190 for a year's worth of monthly trainings. You don't have to worry about which podcast to watch. You don't have to worry about listening to mediocre videos. You really are getting top high performance training from me on mindset, parenting, relationships, achievement of your heart's desire, your goals, in a great community and with some accountability for your goals where we'll be pushing you forward. All right. Thank you so much. I'm going to drop the link to register for Radiant Greatness below, and I'm so honored for you taking the time to watch this. Lots of love.